Namaskaram. Welcome to Global Festival of Oneness. This is our third year of celebrating the incredible and inspiring life and works of Jagadguru Sri Adi Shankara. We are on the fourth day of this month-long festival, and we really welcome you all to participate and be aware of the one and only leader who has unified India by re-establishing the Advaita Siddhanta, or the concept of oneness. Let me start with a prayer. Sruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Today, I have the privilege to welcome Sri N. Venkatraman ji, who is a senior advocate in the Supreme Court of India. Sir, it's really an honor to have you at our festival 3 times over the last 3 years. Thank you very much for taking your valuable time to share your thoughts today on the topic that is incredibly exciting, Shankara as the epitome of compassion. Sri Venkatraman ji has been practicing law for over 31 years and has been involved in cases of significant public importance, such as the Sabarimala case, Article 370, CAA, and so many more. He is a visiting faculty at the Shastra University, an ardent devotee of Sringeri Sarada Peetham, and has been involved in Veda Pathashala, construction of temples, and so many amazing Vedantic activities. Sir, it's indeed an honor to have you present to us during this third Global Festival of Oneness. Shankara as epitome of compassion. Over to you, sir.
Mala Sudha Kumbha Vibodha Mudra Vidya Virajakkaravari Jata Apara Karunya Sudambura Shri Sharadambam Pranatosmi Nityam Shankarupena Varchittam Panke Kidamabudhyaya Kinkari Yasa Samaya Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada Prakladavarado Devo Yonusamma Paro Harihi Summopasakam Nityam Tam Nusamma Gurum Bhaje Shri Satchidananda Shiva Pinavya Samma Bharatya Pitan Iti Indran Vidya Nitin Mantra Nitin Sadatmanishtan Bhaje Manava Shambhurupan Sadatmadhyana Niradam Vishayebhya Paran Mukam Naumi Shastreshu Nishnatam Chandrasekhara Bharati Vivekinam Mahapragyam Dairyodarakshama Sada Vinavapurvam Tam Vidyatirtha Gurum Bhaje Ajnanam Jannavitirtham Vidyatirtham Vivekinam Sarvesham Shupatam Tirtham Bharati Tirthamashraye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvakyam Vidushekara Bharati. Offering this talk at the sacred feet of Bhagavadpada Shankara. Thanks so much once again to Nitin and Ravi Shankar for providing this invaluable opportunity to be part of this Global Fest. Since this is a global audience, let's understand a few terms before we actually embark upon to know how Bhagavadpada Shankara reminds the ocean of compassion. What do we mean by ocean of compassion? Why should compassion be compared to an ocean? That's the question. Avyaja Karuna Mukti is Namavali in the Lalita Sahasranamam. It's something which is so frequently used in eulogizing any great guru in our order. Shri Mahasannidhanam, in several of his Anugraha Bhashanams, had said, why do we say Avyaja Karunamurti or ocean of compassion? A ocean is immeasurable, unquantifiable, incalculable. It's so mighty. So is the compassion of God and Guru. And therefore, a Guru, Bhagavadpada Shankara, and the Gurus who follow the lineage are bestowed not only with the title as Jagadgurus, but also the title as Avyaja Karunamurti, ocean of compassion. Before we understand compassion in its spiritual sense, what do we understand compassion in its normative meaning? Because this is a global audience and we have different views and perspectives about human feelings. All of us without exception, oscillate in our human emotions between love and hate, between love and anger, between happiness and suffering. So this is so common and virtually perpetual in all our lives. So we oscillate in our human thought, feelings, and expressions. And therefore, we have situations where we confront or we dispense, in this case, because it's a positive emotion, love, kindness, affection, warmth, etc., etc. We also disperse emotions which are not very positive. When we see suffering somewhere, either we watch through a news or read through a print media, our mind momentarily associates with that suffering and expresses some concern, which we call it as pity. When the same suffering is undergone, or someone known to us is undergoing the same suffering, instead of merely showing concern, we start to understand what are they actually undergoing through. It possibly translates into sympathy. If the relationship is still more closer and somebody undergoes the same suffering known to us, then we not only show concern, we not only express, we not only try to understand it, we try to see whether we can involve, virtually participate along with them in undergoing the emotions, which we call it as empathy. When somebody known to us, really known to us, needs our help, and we desire to help them. From pity, it is a mere concern. In sympathy, you feel. In empathy, you understand and partake. And when you come to the next stage of evolution in a human feeling, when you not only participate, you try to resolve the problem. Then we call such gestures as a compassionate gesture. This is normative understanding of compassion, English way of understanding compassion. And we must also understand the difference between compassion and mercy. Mercy is a state of mind where you are ready to forgive somebody's mistake, somebody's wrong acts and doings. A wrongdoer, you ignore him. It's all right. Let me pardon you. Mercy comes essentially out of somebody who has, to some extent, conquered anger. To such a person, mercy comes slowly and naturally. But mercy is not compassion. Having understood the worldly perspective of what compassion is Bhagavadpada Shankara a compassionate soul like this? Is this what Bhagavadpada Shankara is all about? The answer is a clear no. Why? Because, as we said, from love to mercy, from happiness to suffering, from delight to anger, we oscillate. Whereas when somebody dispenses a love, somebody dispenses an emotional response which is healing in nature, somebody dispenses a blessing which indeed penetrates and transforms us, that action is called as ocean of compassion. Why? Because the very state from which this gets dispensed, we are talking about love, hate, anger, everything. But this is a state of Shanti, a state of peace, and a state of total bliss. When emotions emanate out of Shanti, bliss, peace, those emotional outpouring transforms into compassion or divine compassion, and the person who dispenses that is termed as an ocean of compassion. That's the significant difference between our English understanding of compassion and what divine compassion is all about. And Bhagavadpada Shankara belongs to this category. Why? Why should we call? See, we say Bhagavadpada Shankara is one of the greatest leaders, one of the greatest management gurus, one of the greatest philosophers, somebody who has achieved the impossible. We can add several accolades to Bhagavadpada Shankara. And one such perspective is Bhagavadpada Shankara was also a ocean of compassion. Our philosophy commits to a fact. It promises the suffering jivas when dharma hits the lowest ebb, that it can't deplete any further. There will be a change and a turnaround, because that's the moment, that's the period, that's the time when you will find an avatara emerging to restore dharma. So, the very avatara of Bhagavadpada Shankara is to alleviate and elevate human sufferings. And therefore, the very advent of Shankara into this Bhuloka, Shiva walking down, Lord Dakshinamurti walking down as Bhagavadpada Shankara, the very act of descent emanates because of compassion, seeing the human sufferings. What type of a suffering? 72 different schools of thought. Vedic life virtually becoming extinct. We all swear by the truth that Vedas is the prana of Ishvara. It's the life breath which sustains this universe. And if that is going to get choked, If life breath gets choked, we are just few steps away from extinction. And such was the period. So, seeing jivas suffering, being misguided, the entry of Shankara as an avatara is itself a divine compassion. The second step, when every other avatara, which we have read and known, is waging war against bad and evil to restore dharma. And therefore, it was a war of a physical nature, including Mahabharata, where thousands of lives were lost. This avatara is unique, very, very unique. Not a drop of blood was shed. And this ocean of compassion travels all over Mahabharata 3 times and brings an overwhelming change and transformation within 32 years of his life. And therefore, we call Bhagavadpada Shankara as a ocean of compassion. 3. When a mother who is soaked, who is endowed only with bhakti, Bhagavadpada Shankara sees that mother in penury, in utter suffering. And the lady knows nothing else other than paying profuse bhakti. Here comes the blessing to such a lady in the form of a torrential rain of gold, amalakas. And it is not just a torrential rain for that lady. Anyone who suffers but preserves their bhakti and prays fervently, invoking the Kanakadara Stotram, will get obviated from that suffering. This transformation can happen only when bliss acts with compassionate forms and dispensations. This can happen only when somebody is in utter shanti and everything is under his control. See the contrast. Example in the same Shankara Digvijay. A Kapalika goes and prays to Bhagavadpada Shankara, I want my prayer to be fulfilled and I need a head, either of a king or of a saint. I can't go to the king, therefore I come to you. Sheer ignorance, sheer illusion. What does Bhagavadpada Shankara do? Take my head. After all, this body is something which is perishable. If it's going to serve some use to somebody before it gets totally perished, why not? Let it serve that cause. Please take it. Whether you perform bhakti, whether you are an absolute muda, peace and shanti dispenses only compassion. And Digvijayam records the fact that he's finally killed by Narasimha, Lord Narasimha through Padmapada, and therefore Kapalika attains moksha. Again, a ocean of compassion. You will see this coming again and again in more than multiple and plural forms of the deeds done by Bhagavadpada Shankara with utter compassion. Take the case of Totaka. Let's take all the 4 principal disciples. Each one has their own abilities and credentials. But see the Guru, the ocean of compassion. How does he dispense his compassion to each one of them? In the case of Totaka, he was a loyal and faithful servant of his master. And what did he get? In serving his guru, let's be very clear, if we want to progress in spiritual life, you must be blessed to come into a contact with a guru who is an emancipated soul. More blessed that the guru permits you to serve him. You can't serve such a guru without his anugraha. So serving a guru is a very, very critical step in spiritual progress. And how you serve the guru? The way the guru wants you to serve, the way which pleases the guru, not the way you want to serve the guru. You can't decide how to serve your guru. The guru has to tell you, this is how you should serve me. So, the loyal service rendered by Totaka to Bhagavatpada Shankara, how did he transform? One moment, one magical moment when Bhagavatpada Shankara said, you will get all the wisdom out of 14 ways of knowledge. He gets it instantaneously. Then and there. This is the power of a guru who is in Shanti, who is in peace, who is nothing but bliss. Take the contrast of Padmapada. He writes a commentary on Brahma Sutra, leaves it at Srirangam, goes, and when he returns, he is informed that the whole script is burnt by his uncle. And he remained clueless. He therefore rushed to Bhagavatpada Shankara, who was at the time in Kerala. And what did the master do? The sheer compassion of his Shishya. He said, you have recited this to me, the first 5 is to me. I have registered that. Now I will dictate all the 5 chapters to you. You can note it down and release the script. So this is the compassion extended to Padmapada. Take the case of Astamalaka. At 7 years, his father was clueless and he was thinking his son is actually a liability. Bhagavatpada Shankara said, you have no clues about this boy, you just give it to me. If he's going to be with you, he will serve no purpose to you. If he's going to be with me, he's going to serve a purpose to the whole world. And in no time, someone was found to be born dumb, started to make verses. The power of Guru Anugraham is something which first starts flowing from Bhagavatpada Shankara, and the hereditary and the lineage, when you follow, this multiplies in millions successively at various periods of time through the lineage. Take the case of Sureshwara. In these 3 cases, there are reasons to say there is a personal dispensation of compassion or divine compassion, resulting in transformation, resulting in making somebody realize what they really wanted to do. In the case of Padmapada. But in the case of Sureshwaracharya, it's slightly different. He won the debate, and both him and Ubhay Bharati followed Bhagavatpada Shankara. And when he reached Sringeri, he saw the unique beauty of that place, where sworn enemies, the snake and the cobra, the snake and the frog, when the frog was about to deliver, super scorching heat, and the cobra raises its hood and ensures the frog is protected from the scorching heat. That's why we call Sringeri as a Jiva Karunya Kshetra. Chandrasekhar Bharati Mahaswami has said that. So he makes Sureshwaracharya the first Acharya of the Sringeri Mutt, seeing this compassion between sworn enemies. So, if you turn the pages of the life history of all the four Sishyas of the Amnaya Mutts, all of them have been recipients of Bhagavadpada Shankara's compassion in one way or the other. And finally, when Aryamba was about to depart, Jyeshta Mahasannidhanam Jagadguru Srimad Abhinav Vidyadhita Mahaswami has delivered a lecture on this aspect alone. Why Shankara had to go and do the rites. Shankara could not have become a sannyasi but for the blessings, but for the nod given by Aryamba. But she is left alone. And therefore, as a precondition for his becoming a sannyasi, she extracts a promise that he should come during her last days. So this sannyasa is permitted. The nod for sannyasa ashrama was permitted subject to this condition. And therefore, it's a promise to his mother. Can't be breached. And goes there. Imparts her Vedantic knowledge, which Aryamba at that stage is not able to take it. And shows him Vishnu. She reaches. We can keep multiplying instances from the Shankara Digvijayam like this. You can run into several numbers. But the bottom line is this. What are the takeaways when Bhagavadpada Shankara dispenses his compassion, which is equated to that of an ocean, which is immeasurable? See what he See what he had contributed. Let's have a panoramic view. One extreme, you have suffering jivas who just know nothing. You have at the other end of the spectrum, people who are very strong intellectuals, capable of assimilating anything and everything, but engaging in a debate with a wrongful intention. To discredit, to disprove, attempt to discredit and disprove the Vedic truths. So this was the two extremes of jivas present when Bhagavadpada Shankara descended on this earth. And what did he do? That's why we call him an ocean of compassion. He did not try to reach out or serve just one segment of jivas, suffering jivas. Please go through the works of Bhagavadpada Shankara. Starting from simple shlokas to the most complex commentary on Brahma Sutra, has he left any area untouched? Let's throw a challenge. Can any Sishya, an aspiring Sishya who believes in God, Can he come and say to us, look here, I went through the entire panorama of the works and contributions of Bhagavadpada Shankara. I am suffering like this. I don't have a solution from Bhagavadpada Shankara. He has missed me out. And one jiva say, it throw a challenge. It is holistic. It is wholesome and covers the entire spectrum of jivas. Then what is the difficulty in we adoring, eulogizing Bhagavadpada Shankara as ocean of compassion? 2, he has always ensured that he does not discriminate one Shishya from the other. This is, a mother does not distinguish between one child and the other. It's so natural for a mother. After that, this divine power is bestowed only with a guru. A mother is, after all, bound, emotional bondage towards her children, whereas a guru is not bound by emotions, and therefore there is it's colorless, absolutely no discrimination between one Shishya and the other Shishya, because it all sprouts from bliss, it all sprouts from peace and shanti. Whoever deserves whatever they need to, and they will get it. In fact, in the multifaceted Jivan Mukta book, there are two parables narrated by Jagadguru Srimad Abhinav Vidyatita Mahaswami, the 35th Acharya of the Sringeri Sharda Peetham. A guru is engaged in deep tapas. 2 aspiring Sishyas go to the Guru and they pray to the Guru that they should be inducted and formally trained under him because he is an emancipated soul. The Guru found both of them fit and he decided to take them in. He initiated both of them in mantra japa. He taught both of them equally. But the first Shishya could catch it up so quickly. When he sits into meditation, he could just get into the contemplative mode in no time. Whereas the second Shishya was very average and he preferred to serve his Guru rather than getting into the contemplative state. When the time came, the Guru called both of them and said, now time is ripe enough for both of you to leave me, my ashram. You have served me enough and more. I am extremely gratified by your service. And therefore, it's time for me to bless both of you and you should now start your journey. He calls the first Shishya, shows the Abhaya Hasta and says, my blessings are with you. He calls the second Shishya, places his divine hand on his forehead, on his head, and say, may you emancipate now. And he attains the state of Jivan Mukti. The first Shishya, for a minute, was stuck. It took some time for him, and when he decided to speak to his Guru prevented him from speaking. I say, I know what is running in your mind. And he asked him a question, what do you think about me? The Shishya says, you are an emancipated soul. And you can emancipate all of us. And that's why we came to you. Are you therefore thinking that I'm a trader? The Shishya says, no, you are not a trader. I have never thought that you are so. Then what is running in your mind? The Shishya said, both of us came here, both of us served here, and each one served in their own capacities. But why different kinds of blessings to each one of them? What's the thought? Am I wrong or unjustified in thinking so? The Guru kept quiet for a minute, summoned the second Shishya and said, "What would you have done if I had not blessed you with this emancipation?" The Shishya replied, "O Guru, I know nothing for myself. The day I came before you, I have offered myself to you and I have surrendered. If you have blessed me, that is your will. If you have cursed me, that is also your will. When I am just a slave, a spiritual slave seeking emancipation, I don't have any rights. Whatever rights someone possesses, it is only you. You have every right to deal me in the way you want." The Guru looks at the first Shishya and says, "Do you now find the difference? You had everything better than him, but you also carried ego. He was no match to you, but he never had ego. And now this is the difference." And the Guru commands to the Shishya, "You are a capable Shishya. Give up your ego right now. May I bless you emancipation." And he emancipates him. One, when we say, when in your life, if you are blessed to meet a Guru who is an ocean of compassion, I narrate this only for that purpose. One should be blessed to come into an association with such a Guru. And one who gets that association, you can taste that ocean of compassion only when we are in that state of a Shishya who falls under the second category. No ego with your Gurus. Oh, what can? Can you outbeat your Guru? Then why do you go to him if you can? In the second case, a bunch of Sishyas is being trained by a Guru. 5 or 6 of them. And when most of them miserably failed, the Guru used to say, encourage them, don't worry, you can do better, do it, I will try to help you. He will ensure that they don't lose their morale. But out of that 5 or 6, one was outstanding. But what is the price he paid? The smallest flaw or mistake, the punishments were extremely punitive. And the Sishya never understood this treatment. He says, look here, these fellows are less than average to what I'm doing. And they are getting the pats and say, I'm enough encouragement to bring them up. One small error, see, I'm getting finished every time. So he was perplexed. One day, another Pandita came and met his Guru. And they were conversing for a while. And they took a particular proposition and wanted to engage in a debate. So the Guru out of this bunch called this outstanding student to be present. So the student attempted to engage in that fruitful debate to the best of his ability, but somehow flawed somewhere. The Guru started to admonish him, left, right, and center in the presence of the Pandita, which he couldn't take it. A few days later, the Pandita came with yet another person. The Guru again summoned this individual and say, participate in the debate. And he was extremely successful this time. No flaws. A few days later, the second person who came as the king of the kingdom before this Guru. and conveyed the truth that the Pandita was engaging himself in a debate twice, was a classmate to this Guru in his Gurukulam, and he was king's advisor, and he now wants to go back and retire. So he needed an advisor. So when the Pandita came and made the request to his colleague, who is the Guru of this ashram, the Guru said, I'll give you somebody who is capable of doing it. And he has chosen you to be our advisor. I've come here with all the paraphernalia to invite you. Now the Guru turns to the Sishya and says, the reprimands, the admonitions, the punitive treatment, even the curses over years is only to transform you, because I know you are a different seed. Therefore, as Sishyas, when you go to a Guru who is an emancipated soul, always go with the feeling that he is an ocean of compassion. He knows you better than you know yourself. And whatever treatment he meets it out to you, take it as a blessing. That's the lesson you can find again and again and again in Bhagavadpada Shankara's Digvijay. The last 3, 4, 5 minutes, you read Soundarya Lahari, you read Shivananda Lahari, you read its English meanings, you read Bhajagovindam. When man is one step away from the graveyard, he says, oh my God, time for you to pray, man. What are you going to do by learning grammar at this 10th hour of your life? Is it not ocean of compassion? If you are under the radius of your Guru, a Guru will constantly guide you what is good to you. Experience it, then you will realize. Taste it, then you will realize it. In fact, somebody was narrating a very wonderful incident that happened in Calcutta way back in 45 years back. The bondage it's infinite, as ocean is limitless. So this is how a Sishya can evolve when he, therefore, being Sishyas of Jagadguru Bhagavadpada, understanding Bhagavadpada in multiple ways, don't fail or miss to understand Bhagavadpada is also a ocean of compassion. How does he say that we should pray? Mahasan, in many of his Anugraha Bhashanams, has cited Vishnu Shatpati, one of the rare compositions of Bhagavadpada Shankara, in which the first sloka, third line, says, Bhutadayam Vistaraya. What should you pray before Vishnu? First, pray for humility. Second, pray that your mind should be free from the desire over sense objects. Third, pray, oh Lord, expand my compassion over all the living entities. See what follows therefore as the fourth step. If you are blessed with compassion, then you are actually on the pathway of salvation. Because the fourth prayer is, allow me to cross this ocean of samsara. So becoming compassionate is one of the prerequisites for attaining. We can attain moksha intellectually. Never will miss the bhakti part of Bhagavadpada Shankara. Don't miss the taste of honey in your life. And don't miss the good fortune of associating yourself with an emancipated guru who can not just guide you intellectually, who can actually transform you. The daya he has can also be transformed into us. We can become dayalus. We can also become compassionate living beings. And sustenance of society, sustenance of dharma, sustenance of goodness, richness, resourcefulness, strength is possible only when our lives are soaked on compassion. That's what Bhagavadpada Shankara has shown it to us for 32 years. Can there be a better intellectual than Bhagavadpada Shankara? Has he yet given up the ability to be compassionate? And when he established the 4 Annaya Pitas, in fact, every reverential guru of the Shringeri order, in every other Anugraha Bhashanams I've said, there are 2 qualities which are indispensable for somebody to be a Pitathipati of this transcendental tone of wisdom. 1, he should be a knowledgeable person over the Shastras. His knowledge is no match. Pandita Rajaguru. The second quality imposed by Shankara is very important. Every Acharya should be a ocean of compassion. Avyaja, Karuna. This is the prescription given by Bhagavadpada Shankara, followed even today. Therefore, as much as you have a taste and aptitude for intellectual pursuit, as Sishyas, we must also have the same or equal attitude in becoming a compassionate human being. Let's first become a compassionate human being. Then let Acharya Guru bless us to transform ourselves, our compassion into divine compassion. We should first be compassionate. This is the essence I thought we should convey to this wonderful group of people. It has always been a pleasure. I wouldn't say pleasure is not a right term. It's a bhagyam. It's a blessing. See, people, all of you, you have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of priorities in your life. The time constraint which all of us suffer, you also suffer. But you gather momentum, you gather resources, and you are trying to do a month-long session for the benefit of the human race. Somewhere, unless you are blessed with compassion, you would not have ventured, formed this body to do this job. All of you are truly blessed. And we, as people with very little knowledge, you invite us to share some of the experiences. We feel it's a divine opportunity given by Bhagavadpada Shankara. And therefore, we offer this talk at the lotus feet of Bhagavadpada Shankara. And I thank once again this team of Nitin, Ravishankar, and Indica Moksha, all of you, for this wonderful opportunity. Pranams to you. Ready to take questions.
Venkatraman ji, thank you so much. Dhanyavadalu. Really wonderful. I think this talk on compassion came out so beautifully because you come from such a center of peace, and you have actually demonstrated your compassion, being an extremely busy senior advocate in the Supreme Court. For you to spend an hour and to share your words of inspiration from Adi Shankara's life, again, you have demonstrated your ocean of compassion today, Venkatraman ji. Thank you very much. You have really talked about how Adi Shankara served the full spectrum in his ocean of compassion, because just like the ocean is the same whether you are the utterly poor person or an intellectual. So your analogy of that Avyaja Karuna Murti and the two qualities for a Pitadhipati to be what Shankara said, be a knowledgeable person, but also be that Avyaja Karuna Murti. Beautifully shared with us. I'm going to look for any questions here, but I have a question now. Until I see some questions in the discussion here. So I think today's young generation and most parents, everyone wants their children to be in the pursuit of knowledge, because there is an belief that if you have a pursuit of knowledge, you can be successful. What is your message to parents and elders to inspire their children to also pursue compassion? Because you said both are important.
I will put it this way. Knowledge undoubtedly is needed because it's an essential tool to live a life, material life. But the canvas of one's human life is not knowledge. Knowledge is only a painting. The canvas is the values which one carries in life. And one can carry values in life only when you are ready to be exposed to that environment and you engage in getting that value being imparted on you. Today's family structure, we have lost the values in family societies. They don't carry the traditions. See, we were filled with enough traditions and values that all of us by ages and by generations, we are carrying it on. Because of globalization, because of, see, it's all inevitable. Nobody to be blamed for this. Therefore, you need a society. Therefore, you need institutions like schools which impart you knowledge. You need institutions which impart you values. And young parents, therefore, should first become students to these institutions and also take along with them their children. Unless you define values in your life, mere knowledge. It's like this. Can you progress spiritually with mere knowledge? Answer is no. Can you progress with materially with mere knowledge? Answer again is no. So this is something you should, young parents and children should get associated with institutions, and they should bring value system back slowly into their family lives. This education is of paramount imperative importance.
Fantastic, sir. So you are saying children should be, definitely they should go to the regular schools for knowledge, but also go to epitomes and other institutions to also learn to be compassionate, because both are sort of parallel and one cannot succeed without the other.
The two basic roots: go back to your Kuladevam, go back to your Kulaguru. These are two basic roots which family institutions can ill afford to lose, because you can trace your values only in these two places.
There was a comment here that compassion is fundamental to spiritualism. Is that fundamental to spiritualism?
It is just not fundamental, it is indispensable. See, the reason is this: when we say a guru blesses us, we receive the blessing of a guru. Blessing is a dispensation, an act. But what is the source of that blessing? What is the state of condition of that blessing? It emanates out of compassion. So, spiritual evolution is be retarded, will be immature, will not be complete unless otherwise you have compassion as part of your life? Why should otherwise Bhagavadpada Shankara pray in Vishnu Satpati? Bhutadayam Vistaraya. Why should we ask? Why should we pray something which is not required? And Bhagavadpada Shankara considers it paramount. Who are we to dispute it?
Fantastic. So it's not fundamental, it's indispensable. So it's almost like knowledge and compassion. It's like two strings of a thread that are wound together in your life. It's
dharmic life is possible only when you are soaked in compassion. And life without dharma will not take you into the path of moksha by merely understanding intellectually the process of philosophy. You have to practice dharma in your life.
Wonderful, sir. I'm checking any questions. So there's a question here. In daily material life, if one is unconditionally compassionate, then one is likely to be taken advantage of. Right? So because we live in a world where being compassionate, or at least the wrong understanding of compassion, may come across as a sign of weakness. So how does one go about it? Be compassionate and yet come across as a strong, centered, knowledgeable individual.
There is a wafer-thin difference in some cases between cowardice and fearlessness, even though they are two extremes. So, any tapas, any rich quality for a human being to acquire requires the strongest grit and the ability to tolerate and pursue with perseverance. Okay, if somebody is going to take you for a ride, you should know after a while he will be after you. It's only still you condition yourself to a particular state. If a guru thinks he's going to be taken for a ride, and therefore he has to be very qualified in this dispensation of divine blessings, how could he be a guru? And have you ever seen a guru being conquered by a shishya? I have not heard it in my life. It's not possible. So compassion is a powerful weapon and tool. Please remember, it's not a powerless tool. What we mean as divine compassion emanating out of a spiritually evolved soul can only go and infect people positively rather than retard against the person who extends it. Please do not believe it so. It's a request.
Fantastic, sir. Are there any leaders today that the young generation can look up as role models that are a unique combination of the knowledge as well as the ocean of compassion? Who should the young generation look up to beyond the Pitadipatis and anyone in the regular practical life?
See, it's very difficult choice in the sense you should not think it is personal. Because you said Pitadipati should not be referred. I actually wanted to refer a Pitadipati.
No. I said beyond Pitadipatis.
Because you can see divine compassion only from an evolved soul. It is difficult to see divine compassion from a material soul. But you read, I will put it this way. I'll give you one living example finally. But before that, if you read our history, you will find plenty of powerful characters who have been oceans of compassion. Plenty, not just one or two. You should be ready to read our history. Regular history of great kings. And you will see the compassionate side of these great kings. And I can tell you one example. I've been now an additional Solicitor General of India as a law officer of this country for the past 2 years. And I'm therefore in contact with men in power. When I say men and women in power, I find an extremely inspiring hero in governance, who is a very, very tough leader, extremely tough and courageous, and equally the most compassionate when it comes to dealing with human problems. To me, in the last 2 years, if you say that other than a Pitathipati, if somebody has influenced me with this balance, he's one such person who has influenced me in my life, who holds one of the most powerful positions today in the country. And he's an inspiring hero to me that way. It's my personal answer.
Fantastic, sir. Fantastic. And I think lot of you are a wonderful example that you are a very, very experienced and highly regarded advocate in the Supreme Court of India, but you are able to balance your pursuit of knowledge along with being soaked in ocean of compassion. One of the things that young people need to realize is this is a combination, right? You can live with both in your life and to become successful.
It is possible only when you are under the tutelage of a emancipated Guru Ravi. I want to make that point very clear. Beautiful. It is not out of my individual ability. I don't claim any credit for this. I'm simply a slave in the hands of my Guru, Jagadguru Shri Bharati Mahaswamigal and Jagadguru Shri Videshekara Bharati Mahaswamigal. Whatever happens to me, it happens only because of them. This is the faith one carries. Therefore, if you are under their umbrella, any balance in life is possible because they take care of you. This is the only answer. So please do not even attribute any personal abilities to me. No. With human mind and human buddhi, which is extremely limited, it is not possible to do many things.
Fantastic, sir. So thank you so much once again, and for sharing your invaluable time and providing such a very inspiring episodes and stories from Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, how he has displayed his compassion to the 4 disciples, to his mother, to the poor woman, and the 2 stories you said about the Sishya, about the 2 Sishyas. Really, a lot of good examples for people to take away from this wonderful talk. Thank you so much. Please continue to support our activities of Indica Moksha. And once again, thank you all for attending. We will see everyone again in about 12 hours. The next session in the Global Festival of Oneness will happen at 7 a.m. India time. And it was a talk by Swamini Swatma Vidyananda, and her talk will be on the salience of Pramana in Advaita Vedanta. So we'll see you all fresh in the morning on Monday, May 9th at 7 a.m. IST. Once again, Venkatraman ji, thank you very much.
Pranam.
Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.
Namaste.